All right. So, some of my motivations have been called into question recently, and I want to explore that a little bit. So, let's talk Ethics 101 as I learned it in college. Okay. There are two ways that you can practice ethical behavior there's consequential and there's non consequential. If you use consequential ethics to evaluate an issue, you're looking at what the outcome or the result is of a given action. If you're using a non consequential approach, you're looking to see if the action itself is wrong. So, examples are of consequential ethics curtailing somebody's freedom to protect the public, making examples of people in order to deter bad behavior, attacking a person to protect a victim. All of these are consequential considerations because you're looking at what the outcome is. All right, non consequential would be keeping your word even though breaking it might help more people, being a conscientious objector even though participating in a war might save more lives, or maybe refusing to mock somebody's death even though they might have been a net negative on society. All of those are non consequential because you're basically saying that it's just wrong. Okay? So, one approach is not inherently more correct than the other. And it might appear that consequential ethics is kind of like a means justify the end idea, but it's actually not. A better way to view that is that the end outweighs the means. So the net positive overall is good when you're looking at something consequentially. All people use both methods because you can't live non consequentially at all times and nor consequentially. And your set of ethical values is basically how you balance the two. So if you're acting completely free of any moral consideration, you're not using any ethical framework, you're just being unethical. So leaning consequential does not make you unethical. And, if you're only acting in self interest despite who that harms, then you're probably just practicing banditry, like Cipolla would define it, and that would be an example of unethical behavior. But there are a few things that are not unethical, okay? Just as some examples, it's not unethical to oppose ICE. That's an arguably non consequential decision. You see something, you don't like it, and that's just what your value is and that's what you're sticking by, right? Non consequential. It's also not unethical to support ICE because you're looking at what the result of this is going to be, and if you think that immigration is a net negative, then all of these different efforts are going to result in a better society, right? Consequential. That's consequential ethics, okay? Now, you could be an isolationist or an imperialist, and you could still use an ethical framework. I mean, if you say refuse to support toppling an oppressive dictatorship because you hold national sovereignty in high regard, you're also not necessarily unethical. That is just non consequential, right? So basically, you got ethical, and under that heading is consequential and non consequential. And then below that, you got unethical behavior. And consequential ethics is not unethical. To be unethical, you have to basically be seeking evil or maybe yourself at some great disproportionate expense to others. But it's not the same as going into depth on an issue. Okay? So, all that being said, political views are very rarely immoral. They use different methods and depth strategies, but social views are usually not banditry. And basically, you have standing to reject anybody who calls you heartless, immoral, or unempathetic in most cases because it's not immoral to weigh an issue. And you might even downrank the pain of certain people under certain conditions. And if you're using a depth strategy there, you're still seeking good. So you are not required to see a situation, feel empathy, and then draw a straight line from feeling to opinion or from feeling to action without looking at the complexities and consequential depths of that issue. Anybody who will tell you that you're a bad person for seeking truth on a matter and taking a depth strategy to that, they're just trying to emotionally manipulate you to their point of view. And that's all.